Welcome back to the channel, Modeling Maestro here. So, it says A-6A Intruder on the box, but is it really? Let's find out. I hate in-box reviews, so let's just get right to building the model. I start clipping away, removing parts for the nose gear, wheel well, and the cockpit. To remove pieces from the sprue trees, I use Tamiya's side cutters. I really like to cut away from the attachment points first, which allows me to cut the actual part close to the sprue at a more comfortable angle. At this point, I also decided to tackle the intakes. By the way, any tools you see in my videos, including this scalpel, can be found in the description with links to buy the products. Before gluing the intake halves, I decided to dry fit them in place in the fuselage, just to ensure their alignment. Next, I fill the inside seam with CA glue and sand the area flush again with sanding sticks. Next, I begin removing plastic from the inside of the scoops found all around the aircraft. This work is done with a sharp X-Acto blade. The blade is set center and twisted to scrape material up to the edge of each scoop. So, now begins my first step in modifying this A-6A kit to make an actual, A-6A. There are a few slime lights along the fuselage and vertical stabilizer that need to be removed. These are sanded away easily with a coarse sanding stick. Finer sanding sticks are used to remove the scratches and smooth out the area. The sanding sponges from God Hand are perfect for this kind of work and can be found in the description below. Once the area is smoothed out, I used a rivet wheel to replace lines of rivets. I next tackle the wing slats. The slats and flaps will be in the raised position. The actuators for the slat will need to be removed. Once I dry fit the slats, I found that 2 square holes were present. My references show that these square notches should have a protruding square that fits snugly into the space. These squares were fashioned out of plastic and dry fit and sanded carefully to ensure good alignment. The center piece also needed to be removed to help center the piece properly. In this photo, you can see a teardrop-shaped seam, which is showing the place for a large air scoop, and next to that, a vent. For a true A-6A, the scoop should be left off, and the vent will need to be filled. This work is done with CA glue, sanding sticks, and sanding sponges. If you followed my channel for a while, you may remember I attempted this kit before. I received a lot of kind inquiries requesting the finish videos for that build. I actually neglected to finish it. The model made it to the decal stage, and at that point I had to focus on moving to a new home. At that point, I also found that many aspects of the model were still in the A6E state. I didn't know about the differences in the A and E version, and I didn't know of this kit's shortcomings. Here is the underside of that old model. I wanted to show you this so that you can see the 2 triangular scoops flanking the wheel well. You may notice they are not clean. The kit is designed so a seam runs through the center of these scoops. This makes cleanup difficult. I decided on this build to cut away and clean up these halves before gluing them together. Later, a piece of sheet plastic will be slid under each triangular hole. The next step to making this kit a true A-6A is to fill the drain holes on the sides of the fuselage, as well as fill several engraved lines for access points surrounding these holes. I filled each hole with plastic rod, then filled each seam again with CA glue. On the starboard side of the fuselage, another circular seam needs to be filled. It is found just aft of the speed brake. At this point, I return to the cockpit. The bucket has been painted with a mix of Tamiya paints and clear coated. I next added a wash. My preferred wash is a mixture of Winsor & Newton Artist Oils thinned with turpenoid. I mix black and white to create a gray color. I apply the wash with a soft brush. I find that the more turpenoid that is applied to the oils, the faster the wash dries. However, the pigment will be weaker and more likely to lift out of the crevices and panel lines. You will know when the oil wash is dry when it takes on a flat appearance. If it is still glossy, it's still wet. Once the wash is dried, I use Q-tips to gently remove the excess from the surfaces, leaving the remnants in the corners of the details. You will notice that the controls have been scraped away from the control panel and side consoles. As with my first attempt of the Hobbyboss A-6A, I opted to use Quinta 3D decals. The only drawback to using 3D decals is that the gray color on the decal may not match the paints that you used. This variation of color will be toned down with the use of oil paints later. Application of 3D decals is pretty straightforward. Do not allow them to soak long in water. In fact, I will just take a drop of water and place it directly to the back side of the decal. The backing paper will simply release from the decal. White glue is usually enough to adhere the decal to the kit part. However, a small amount of CA glue can be used to provide stronger adhesion. I'm an Amazon associate. That means if you use the Amazon links in my video descriptions to purchase kits, tools, or equipment featured on the channel, I will earn a small commission at no extra cost to you. It's a simple way to support this channel while picking up the items that you already need. This model will be an aircraft stationed on the USS Kitty Hawk in the late 60s. I purchased decals from AOA. The decal set is titled Southeast Asia Intruders No. 2. In this set, several pages of instructions are backed with research that lays out very clearly the mistakes in the Hobbyboss kit and how to fix them. If you are intending to build a true A6A, I highly recommend these decals, even if for only the instructions. The particular aircraft I am depicting features speed brakes without holes. I filled in each hole with a piece of styrene rod and glued them in securely with CA glue. The excess was clipped away and sanded down. Next, I added the intakes to the airframe and attached the cockpit to the right half of the fuselage. I prepared and painted the bay for the arrestor hook, then glued it in place with CA glue. I then placed the halves together to check several areas for fit. A few spots needed to be sanded down, and I was now ready to install the nose gear wheel well bay. Plastic tweezers were used to press the wheel well wall into place. Then I ran a small drop of CA accelerator to the seam. I again dry fit the halves together to check for fit. I scraped plastic off the edge of the vertical stabilizer to create a thinner edge. There isn't any mention of this in the instructions, but I like to add weights to the nose of my aircraft models. This will prevent the model from resting on its tail when finished. I clip the ends of fishing weights, then set them in place. Add a few drops of CA glue, then just a few drops of CA accelerator. Next, I prepare a few drops of thin CA to get ready to mate the two halves of the model. After the halves are pressed together, drops of CA are placed in the seam of the nose gear wheel well. Drops of glue are placed all around the seam at the rear of the cockpit tub. This seam does not need to be cleaned because I will fill it at a later time. Even in areas where CA glue has dried, I will still add some Tamiya extra thin to help melt any spots which didn't receive super glue. A quick note, there are a few areas on this model which I will not glue until I add the wings and other elements. Keeping these areas loose for now allows me to make adjustments later when the pieces are added. Once the glue has dried, I started working down the seam on the top and the bottom of the fuselage. This area is built up with CA glue and worked back down with a scalpel and sanding sticks. Any rivets lost will be replaced later. In the next video, construction work will continue on the wings and other fuselage elements. I will continue to make this a true A6A Intruder. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this content useful, please leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.